Hi! You may be wondering, good coffee. You may be wondering why I'm sitting in my bathtub this morning with cup of coffee mask on my face, wearing a bathing suit, and filming.
Hey, it's your favorite chaotic soaper, Faith, back for another exciting episode. And today we're going to make a farm-to-table soap with pork tallow, or manteca as I prefer to call it, and goat's milk. Stay tuned.
Hi, welcome back to the Chaotic Soaper. It's Faith here. Here's today's video. We're going to do a traditional, something really off-brand for me, a really traditional, like farm-to-table kind of soap. It's made with rendered pig tallow. I generally don't make these kind of soaps. I'm gonna continue to not make these kind of soaps. I prefer vegan soap for various reasons. And I'm not judging anybody who has different preferences. That's just for me. I prefer not to kill animals to make soap. I also don't really like the way fats smell. However, there are some advantages to making soap with tallow or lard. And if you do eat animals or raise animals, and you have tallow or lard that you can render and have available for things, then it's actually more environmentally friendly to use everything completely. So I have a friend who has a farm, and once a year she does make soap using those kind of traditional methods and traditional materials that they have available due to having a farm. So a couple of years ago when I started making soap, she was the first person I talked to. And of course I was super excited to try things and lots of different kinds of ingredients, and it hadn't really gelled in my mind exactly kind of what I wanted to do or what ingredients I was gonna veer towards or away from. And I asked her for some tallow, which has a lot of value to her. So it was really nice of her to share it with me. And she did give me, I think it was 12 pounds. And I had to, I can't remember, there's a couple of different processes. I think it might be called rendering. There is a part of the process with it's basically fat, like Crisco or something, you know, like a cooking oil. And part of the process is that you have to kind of heat it up over and over, in water, I think. My gosh, it was a couple of years since I did this. Anyhow, everything floats to the top. That's impurities, bits of meat, like oils and stuff that aren't the pure, beautiful finished product, and you remove that stuff.
Editing Faith here to say, so rendering is just basically, yes, it is a process in water. When you boil it and then you let it cool, you're going to have the fat is floated to the top. Any impurities like bits of meat or some dirt or hair or leaves, because it's on a farm and it might have been processed outside in the barn or somewhere, all that stuff's going to sink to the bottom of the pot of water. So you can kind of just scrape the fat off the top, put it back in your container. You can blot it with a paper towel a bit if there is water beading out, and throw it away. You do that process repeatedly until you just have beautiful creamy white tallow and there's no more gunk and the water's, you know, not coming out dirty. So that's the process that was actually done to prepare this, and I did it in my kitchen. I remember now.
The light just completely changed in here and I don't know why. Anyhow, so I did do that, was quite pleased with myself, and made a couple soaps that were just experimental, not well planned or thought out. Was kind of ish about them. And then I took this whole container of rendered pork tallow and I put it in my freezer where it's been sitting for 2 years. However, right now I'm in a mode, and again, this is very eco-friendly and very, very practical thing to do, of taking my ingredients, especially the first in, first out, taking ingredients and not buying new things and using them up. So I have all this tallow, and I'm going to start using it up and get it used up. I thought this was maybe a particularly good moment to do it because I'm probably mostly making soap right now for Christmas, for friends or teacher gifts, things like that. Not to try to sell it as, you know, a vegan-based handmade business like I was doing before. And I think most of the friends that I'm giving it to are not super upset about products having animal fats or different things in them, so that should be fine. And I'm going to combine it with plant oils in the recipe that I will show you, and yeah, and scent it up. So hopefully, with it being about 40 or 50% tallow and the remainder other oils, and scenting it to the higher end with the orange and lavender mixture, which is, like I said, a traditionally French scent. Hopefully that's going to help, and it's not going to have the fatty smell I dislike. And I'm hoping to add to the creaminess and lather with some of the ingredients that I've chosen. And I realized after I did this recipe in soap calc that all of these oils butters are solids at room temperature. I'm going to have to melt everything. The only thing that's already liquid that I'll be putting in is the castor oil, which has got me thinking this might be a better recipe almost to do by a master batching method and do some thin lines or something today, or just make a one solid colored soap, because I don't think this soap is going to be very happy to be a drop swirl, or, you know, any kind of swirl technique or anything where I need it to stay fluid for a while. So I'm still thinking about how I'm going to color this one. Anyhow, let's check it out.
Hey, me again. So, not surprisingly, once I started to do this, things got messy. So some of this stuff is out of order because I did record some things that I didn't actually use, and then I went back and recorded other things because I get distracted and I start making the video more about me tidying up, or, you know, using up things that are in my house, showing you what's in my basement. I don't know what I was doing. But what I discovered was that I couldn't easily find a good recipe for a soap with pork tallow, or I think they call it Manteca, which is a word I think I'm going to prefer. Sounds classier. Sounds like it might be some great plant oil from Brazil. Anyhow, so yeah. So what happened was I started off to make the soap. I looked online for recipes making a soap with tallow, didn't find anything that was acceptable or detailed enough or what have you. I did, and I think I forgot to mention this, but the whole point of this was I wanted to make a traditional French soap so that the scent profile was orange and lavender, which is a very French smell, and I have nice associations of smelling that in sort of a soap made with animal fats, but it was like a subtle scent, and you could smell the fat, like the animal fat through it, like that blubber smell that soaps they call unscented will have when they're made with animal fats. So what I wanted to do was add plant oils, not have it be exclusively tallow, and scent it up a bit so the resulting soap wouldn't actually smell like blubber and kind of repulse me, and still have that farm to table sort of vibe, and honor that French country idea with the scent profile being orange and lavender. So I ended up taking all my ideas and just my knowledge of what's here that I need to use up, or, you know, have available, what resources I have. And I went to soap calc, which I've never really used before. And I started plugging things into soap calc. So there's a bit of footage here showing how soap calc works. And hopefully there's going to be some voiceover here too that explains what you're seeing. So this is soap calc. As you can see, it does have a lot of information. There's an about page and there are detailed instructions as well. The instructions are really helpful, and I suggest you go to that page and give it at least a skim or a more intense read if you're new to soaping. It does have a lot of information about how to add the oils, just in case you don't technically know how to do that kind of stuff in soap calc, which I didn't. So here you can see I'm reading about it. And the great thing about soap calc is it actually gives you some flexibility in designing your soap, sort of custom engineering it to have the kind of qualities that you want it to have, like the cleansing power, the lather, the hardness, how conditioning you want it to be, all those kinds of things. So once you figure out how to add your oils, then you can go and put what percent you want for each one, and you can sort of mess around a bit with the percentages and with the various oils until you get a soap bar that has the qualities that you want. I did struggle a little bit to figure out how to, adding oils was fine because it was kind of like how I add tax forms when I do my taxes online. But I did take me a little while to figure out how to take one away. There is a little plus and minus on the side. Depending on how much you've blown it up there, you'll be able to see it. And here you can see me viewing the recipe. This is my first brush at the recipe, and I did go back and do some revisions, which we'll get to in a few minutes. Okay, so here's my plan. I want to make a tallow and shea butter soap. I want to scent it in the French style, which is orange and lavender. I have had other orange and lavender soaps made with tallow that were kind of French, and they were mildly scented, I would say. What I did not love about them was you could sort of smell the fatty smell through, but it is kind of traditional, and I have all this tallow here, so yeah, that's what I'm thinking to do. However, I won't make it 100% with tallow. I'm going to ease up on it a bit and maybe increase the scent. So what I settled on was mixing it with, this is my soap calculations. I decided on mixing it with coconut oil, shea butter, and castor oil for the lather. And I played around a bit with how much of each I would use to try to get these things into better ranges. I'm still not super happy with the bubbliness. So you can see the range for bubbliness is from 14 to 46. And this is only a 16, which means I think it's not going to feel like a really lathery soap. Cleansing, look at that. It's low on the cleansing. The hardness is great. Conditioning is wonderful, and the creaminess is terrific. So this will be a luxury sort of soap, not a laundry soap or, you know, a big latherer. However, I think I'm adding a couple additives that may help with those low numbers. I'm adding kaolin clay because I always add that when I do citrus oils to fix the scent. And I'm going to add some goat's milk powder. And here are my calculations for that. So I looked it up, and you should add an ounce of goat milk powder per 8 ounces of water that you're using. And of course, I'm using 500 grams of water, which is 17.6 ounces. And I did a little math here. If it's one part in 8, how many parts out of it is out of 17.6? And if you're my son, you don't know how to do this math. I did it here for you. So I'm going to add 2.2 ounces, which is 62.4 grams, according to my calculator. And I used, I think I showed a little clip where I used the Brambleberry fragrance calculator just to get a better idea to scent it up more, because what I had put in was quite low. So that's the range that I'm going for, the working range.
for the scent.
All right, so here we have the Brambleberry website. So if you go to brambleberry.com, and I will link all the websites for the calculators I used today down in the description below. And on the Brambleberry website, you will see that they have a lye calculator and a fragrance calculator. So we're going to use the fragrance calculator right now. I do use this a little roughly because you can't enter your scent combinations. You can only enter one fragrance from Brambleberry or an essential oil, but I do find it's a very good guide. So I did just select one of the essential oils. I believe it was lavender, and just found it on their in their drop down list that appears, and then I put in some information about the soap that I was about to make. So we'll see that coming up here in a second after I decide what fragrance oil, what essential oil we're going to use for the purposes of getting some hard numbers here. And really, this was just confirmation for me because I already had a fairly good idea, but I do find that this helps refine it a little, and it's just a little sanity check to make sure you're not crazy. So now you can put in what kind of product you're doing. I'm doing cold process soap, whether you're using ounces or grams, and I use grams. And I can't see that what it was, but I'm sure it was something self-explanatory. And then it tells you for lightly fragranced, medium fragranced, and a more strong fragrance ranges to use. So I do pick from there the amount to get just the general idea. And that what's handy about that is if you don't have enough to scent it strongly, you can say, well, it's still in the medium range or whatever. It does give you a bit of wiggle room for using your supplies. So that's the fragrance calculator. Ta-da! All right, so here we are back to the soap calc. And what I found with my recipe, as I mentioned, was that I noticed that I had hardly any oils that were liquids at room temperature. And I was worried that this soap was just going to be soap on a stick. So I decided to go back in and try to up that a bit. And also at the same time, revisit those low numbers for cleansing and bubbly that I thought I could maybe get a little better. And you can see right now I'm playing around with the quantities a bit and recalculating the recipe, and I have gotten a little bit better about removing oils. Got that part figured out, so that's good. So what's going to happen here? We're just having a look to see what oils I should remove or add back to get those numbers a little bit better than 7 for cleansing and 14 for bubbly. And the INS number is there too, which I did a little reading about INS numbers. I did think that it needed to be above 140 or 145, and I now understand that those numbers are not universally accepted as being very meaningful. They date from about 100 years ago, and nobody's even sure what INS stands for any longer. Some people swear by the INS number, calculated value, and some people don't use it at all. But I did try to get it into an acceptable range, and I think that was proved kind of helpful for today.
So this is my first outing of my new ensemble. Hair back. Custom lab coat with the sleeves cut off. Sleeves, a la Farmer's Defense, but not quite. These are rip-off, so don't get too excited. I don't wear these goggles anymore because if something does splatter, it kind of tends to get trapped against my face, and I did actually have irritation and like a burn on my face at one point, and had a lot of trouble locating where it was in the goggles because they're a bit too intricate. So these nice simple ones are the ones I actually prefer for soaping. Voila, let's soap.
All right, welcome back. So this is the oils, butters, and lye portion. And the first thing I'm putting in is the tallow. And as you can see, it's fairly soft. Like I say, it's a lot like Crisco or some sort of cooking oil. And so I can almost just kind of cream it in. Although I do generally cut up my butters, my solids at room temperature when I'm using the hot soaping method, just to make sure that the lye does melt everything. I don't want any big clumps of stuff floating around. But this is pretty soft. This is the shea butter, and I will put a little card in the corner so you can see my giant hoard of shea butter. It's interesting. Okay, this is the coconut oil. Can you guess where I buy it? And yeah, also very soft. It melts at 76 degrees. So yeah, if you hold it between your fingers, it melts. And so now I'm just chopping everything up. So there's tallow, shea butter, and coconut oil in here. And I'm just cutting it into smaller chunks, like I say, getting it ready for processing with the lye. So after doing that, I very awkwardly dumped it into this huge pail that doesn't film well. And then I decided that maybe I could just kind of smush it up because it kind of clumped back together. Okay, here I'm measuring out distilled water for the lye solution that I will be making. I use distilled water because there's no impurities, so that's going to cause less contamination, less possibility of contamination, one less source. And I'm tearing the scale again if I can remember which button to press. I can't, apparently. And yeah, I've done my water and put it aside. Now I'm measuring. It's the castor oil, one of my oils, liquids at room temperature that I'll be using in today's soap. And castor oil we generally use at about 8% or less than 8%. And it's just a nice oil to add that has, it does have some benefits for the skin, but if you put too much, it messes with the consistency of the soap. But at 8%, it helps the lather. It's a nice lathering agent. And grapeseed oil, I settled on grapeseed oil after playing around with soap calc. Decided this one best suited my needs to just get everything, having those values where I wanted them. They're not perfect, but they're better. And I got my gloves on here because I'm going to deal with the lye. This is my my working container of lye, and again with the lye I have a giant amount in storage, and there is that other video where I go more into what reagents I do keep around and which ones I decided to have in bulk and how I'm trying to store them. And of course I'm soaping from home, so it's all in a small area in my home. So yeah, measuring up my lye, and I overshot a little bit. So I did used to work in a lab, so this is my for real spatula, and I have to tip my lye bucket towards it a little. I'm just going to take out a little bit of the lye, and everything's still very clean, of course, so I can put that right back into the container. Yeah, and now I'm measuring goat's milk powder. I decided to use goat's milk powder because I wanted to keep with the whole farm, that kind of farm to table. It has that nice farm vibe, doesn't it? So this is my beautiful goat's milk powder that I'm going to add. And later I'm going to compare what the goat's milk powder soap that I'm making today with the tallow, how it compares to a hemp seed one I made previously in terms of the lather, conditioning, softness, creaminess, all those different measures, how it feels on my face. You actually stick around to the end and you'll get to see me test them both. Should I mess? 62.6. So I found all of these in my treasure trove. I found this really full sweet orange, but because I'm doing first in, first out, I have to use up this really light sweet orange. So those are good. And English lavender in a great big container. Last time I did a soap with orange, I thought it wasn't pungent enough, like it didn't have enough kick. And so I'm pulling up a chair, sorry. I actually, I added 5-fold orange or 10-fold orange, something I had just a bit of, but I think I want this one to be more subtle, so that's fine. Now, as for proportions of each, I'm just going to wing it. It's going to be sniffing. I'm going to decide by sniffing. So that is like, that's over half of it already, just as orange. Let's see here. I might end up making more than I want to use. I might end up having to do some, I did see there was a recipe for a tallow and shea butter, whipped body butter. Maybe I'll try that and do the same scent. I don't know. Let's see here how much I'll have to use. I can just pour out how much I want. So this is the English lavender, and I just put in 170. Oh yeah, I do like that. Actually, I really like that. That's close to the amount I want because I said it had to be between 126 and 168, and my recipe actually came out saying 160. So this is not much of an overdose. I'm impressed. And I just used up this one container so I can recycle. So I am cutting down on my stock, so that's good. Now, thinking maybe this is like 5 grams more than I wanted to put. So I might just leave it like that and add the kaolin clay right to this and mix it, as you may have seen me do previously. These sorts of, I'll turn that off for the moment. Love this scale. It's a good investment. So I've done the kaolin clay. I've put it right in here and trying to keep it. Look how much it wants to separate out. You can see right away it's sinking below the meniscus of the, I'll put this sideways and you can see. Oh my gosh, how can I do this? It's sinking below the meniscus, so you can see. I would have to shoot from another. Oh, you can see it now. You can see it even there. See that? The kaolin is below the level of the water. Yeah. Yeah, so you have to keep stirring it. It just wants to kind of settle out, and that's not water actually, is it? It's essential oil. So the kaolin and the essential oils are here. The goat's milk is here. And there is another ingredient that I forgot to put, and I'll have to write it on my notes. And I'm going to put it now. I'm going to use 3 tablespoons. So let's look for the mark on here. Teaspoons, 3 tablespoons there. I'm just going to put 3 tablespoons by volume of sodium lactate. It's so thick it doesn't want to go. Got it. Right on the money. All right. So now I have a whole bunch of stuff that's in my way, and I'm going to be a good kiddo and I'm going to go put it away. And then I can play with the colors. All right, one other thing I have out that I don't need to exactly is my digital thermometer, which is handy dandy. Measure the temperature of some random thing, 68 degrees, so it's room temperature. I'm going to use the hot soaping method though, so checking the temperatures with the thermometer is more just something I would do out of interest rather than for any great burning need to know. So I've got some colors. So this is an orange and lavender soap. So I thought I'd make a lavendery sort of color, and I'm starting off that intention with grape ape. Okay, so of course it's just my luck that I had to filter this hot lye solution. It did not look right.
And now, the most risky part of this is seeing if this is hot enough to melt all of these room temperature butters and tallow. It's a lot of stuff, but it seemed to be like mostly low melting pointy, kind of soft stuff. Almost kind of was creaming it instead of cutting it up there. So I'm optimistic I can melt this with my evil lye solution. My wicked witch lye solution. I'm getting hungry. Oh my god. I'm hunting for supper after this. I need to buy some mushrooms for what I want to make. And I have a teenager who needs some bus tickets, so. And I still have to go feed my friend's cat, because my friend unfortunately had to be out of town due to a bit of a family crisis. Without making a whole bunch of plans, and I already had a key to her place. I was like, no worries, I will feed Pumpkin, which is what I've been doing. I have to go do that again too. Let me put gas in my car. Oh my god, I have a ton of things to do. Why am I making soap? And now it's suddenly evening. That's melting like really fast. And just out of curiosity, how fast is it eating all the heat? So it says it's 85 degrees. So yeah, that's like, it's eating the heat pretty quick, I think. That was probably a lot hotter. Then again, I lost some heat filtering.
Well, I got it done. It's 6 o'clock and I'm just going to get some mushrooms and bus tickets like I said I was going to do. Put gas in my car while I'm out there. Still haven't done my friend's cat. Oh. But yeah, I finished the soap and I put some things in the sink to rinse and ran some hot water. And when I was running the hot water through, man, you can really smell the orange. So it was almost like hot throw with a candle. Like when you light it, you smell the proper scent. So yeah, I really noticed that when I was like in more the situation the soap would be used, just like a warm shower or bath, that you could really smell the mix, and the orange was a lot more out front, which was something I was worried about. So I think that soap is actually going to be quite nice, and I'll be excited tomorrow to get home from work and cut it, and then I'll be excited in 4 weeks to try it. And I have to show you what I can see in the tree. Where are you? There he is. You see him? You know, it doesn't look like much, but we do have nature here. It's worth doing. Worth having a wild little yard to see what comes. It's actually amazing right in the city, huh? Anyhow, okay, thanks, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Top of the morning to you. You may be wondering. Yeah, good coffee. You may be wondering why I'm sitting in my bathtub this morning with cup of coffee mask on my face, wearing a bathing suit, and filming. Well, today what I thought I'd do is test my farm soap. This is my tallow and goat's milk, orange and lavender scented French country farm soap that I made in the video you've just watched. And it smells good. It's about 2 weeks old now, and it's pretty hard. And I'm ready to test it on my face. And I'm going to compare it to this hemp seed oil and other oils, but hemp seed oil is the superstar. Hemp seed oil and goat's milk soap that I made that also had kind of a almost French country kind of vibe. I colored this one only with rose clay, so rose clay is another component in it. The lines are activated charcoal. And I'm going to compare this one. So it's basically comparing goat's milk, but with hemp seed oil as the main oil, versus goat's milk, but with tallow as the main oil. And I'm going to wash my face with both, see how they feel, and see how they finish. So you can see what we made of the tallow soap. How does it stack up? Just for you, YouTube. So I woke up this fine Sunday morning and felt a little under the weather, a bit of a headache. So I took something for my head and I put on, seemed like a good day to finally use that cup of coffee face mask. So I just got to wash that off, get some nice scrubbing sensation. And then we're going to try cleaning my face with the two soaps. Okay, so now that that's done, I did a scrub this morning, feeling good. Ready to try my farm soap, which has been curing for 2 weeks. So it's going to cure a little longer, but I think it's ready for a first test, you know? Let's see. It does feel creamy. Would you call that a lather? It's soft, so I think it's going to be conditioning. It feels soft on my skin. What do you think about lather? Bubbly? It's not super bubbly.
it's a little, it's not like a zero lather kind of soap, you know, like it is bubbly. So. All right, I can't open one eye. Terrific. Okay, so here is the hemp seed oil, rose clay soap also with goat's milk powder. And this is a hard soap also, but it's been curing a long time. And I use sodium lactate in all my soaps, which is a hardening agent. It helps on mold them. Again, I would say, oh, I do have some coffee scrub down there, bonus. I would say that it is soft. Definitely feel softness. Oh, that's a little bit of that's that bonus. This one is extra scrubby. It's the bonus activated charcoal that's in this one. So, oh, I love how this side feels actually. Oh, I love it. And that does not taste so good in my mouth. Geranium essential oil. And bubbly. It is bubbly. I did not use soap calc when I made this one, but I think I maybe left out my choices, and I might take this recipe and reverse engineer and put it in soap calc and see what it says for the flavors. Just out of curiosity. But that definitely has lather, doesn't it? Not big bubbles, but I mean it's definitely got more lather than. Come on, Manteca. I'm rooting for you. This is a nice soap. It feels good. And remember, it's only been curing 2 weeks, so they do get better as they cure. Because saponification slowly continues, and water, of course, evaporates out. So they get into their final shape. I mean. Both sides are lathery. Both sides are soft. So you can see what the lather is like. I think I prefer the lather of the hemp seed oil one. Anyway, let's rinse this off and see how my face feels. I'm losing my shower cap. No! Can't let you see me this one. Oh, this definitely feels quite soft and nice. And now I have soap in my other eye. A little drier. This side maybe feels a little softer. Okay, so here's my face. Here's the side I did with the Manteca, the pork tallow soap. Pork tallow and goat's milk. My goodness, my skin feels happy now, doesn't it? And this is the side I did with the rose clay and hemp seed oil, again with the goat's milk. So these would be, I would say these soaps would be similar in a lot of the properties. I'm trying to decide if one side of my face feels softer. I certainly liked the experience of this side a little better. I think this side might feel softer right now. So just a quick comparison of the two. So with the Manteca or tallow soap, the main oil that I used, or what the main solid that I used was the pig tallow, the pork tallow, and I used it at 30%. In the hemp seed and rose clay soap, actually it was the olive oil that was the
oil I used most of. Manteca, you can see I was followed by shea butter at 25, coconut at 20%, whereas with the hemp seed and rose clay, I used 28% coconut. Only 12% was actually hemp seed oil. And that might be because hemp seed oil is expensive. And you can see the other oils I did use there. And one quick note about this, in the Manteca soap, I used kaolin clay, and the hemp seed oil soap, I used rose clay. So they're very comparable in terms of having the goat's milk and the clay. And then they had these, the difference is the oils. Given this experience, I probably would make one with more hemp seed oil. I would splurge and try that. So this is my own index for the hardness. What is this? Hardness, cleansing, conditioning, bubbly, and creamy. And I just rated them out of 10 because that was more intuitive for me. So I thought the Manteca, it was about a 7. I could still kind of put my nail in it and scratch it, but it isn't fully cured, so it will get harder, whereas the hemp seed was, of course, fully cured. For cleansing, definitely the hemp seed and rose clay soap was much more cleansing, but if we look back, that could be because I used more coconut oil, which is a kind of cleansing oil to use. So that might be something I would want to up in a tallow soap. For conditioning, the tallow soap was a home run. It left my face feeling very soft, and it was noticeably more soft later on than the hemp seed half was. Bubbly, I would say the rose clay soap, hemp seed oil soap was more bubbly. And for creaminess, just by a nose, I would say the Manteca soap was more creamy, but conditioning, it was way more conditioning. And the lesson here, I would definitely use soap calc again. And I get a bubble bath for a reward. Until next time, keep choosing creativity over perfection and enjoying the process, especially if you've got time and you can afford it. All for now.